but that's the only thing I play. I wish I played piano or drums or the didgeridoo, but I only play the ukulele, so that's what I'm gonna do. And this is a little theme song for the Happiness Anonymous Share Show. Hello everyone and welcome to the Happiness Anonymous Share Show. I'm going to steal the microphone just a little bit. Welcome to this very, very special episode of the Happiness Anonymous Share Show. How are you all doing today? Tell me in the comment section at any point if you can't hear us or if we're too quiet. This is a one-person mic, but there are two of us, and I didn't think that in the current times I'd be doing an interview or having a chat with somebody in actual persons. So whack into the comment section if you can hear us or if it's a little bit quiet, and also let me know how you are doing today. Hello to everybody who's watching, and thank you so much for joining us tonight. Tonight, special guest, this is Ryan.
Hello. You sound like such a radio host, by the way.
So, Ryan is actually my boyfriend. It feels weird. Hello, Aaron. How are you?
Hi, Aaron.
It feels weird to be on the internet with my boyfriend.
It's not an OnlyFans account, I promise.
Not yet. But Ryan, every Wednesday I have a chat with somebody who I think is interesting or can shed some interesting light on this idea of happiness. And when I mentioned that to Ryan, he willingly put his hand up for sacrifice.
It's not willing.
And Ryan's somebody who lives with me, who, if anybody watched last Friday's show, you saw my dad comment on how ruthless I am in finding happiness. And if you listen to the Happiness Anonymous podcast, I actually did a whole episode that was all about something that Ryan preaches and says. And that look on his face says that he is not listened to the podcast. Right.
Nor can I remember what I apparently preach.
No, but Ryan is somebody who is forever saying, back yourself.
Oh, yeah.
And is somebody who's really good at getting along with happiness and is quite inspiring to me. And we're being a little bit genuine right now and being honest, but hopefully it will inspire some interesting thoughts on your behalf. And whack in the comment section any questions that you might have, which I feel is a very dangerous thing to say to the internet when I'm there with my boyfriend.
Let's keep that PG rated.
Yeah. Whilst we negotiate this single microphone that
is wedged on the chair between my legs.
The last 10 minutes has been fun trying to find a place for this microphone.
Surprisingly, no flat edges in this entire room within like boom shot.
Yeah. So Ryan.
Hi. How are you?
Good. And yourself? Good morning.
Yeah.
Hi. So I'm going to start with the question that I always start with everybody on this podcast, and that is, before I swing the boom dramatically to your face, what is your approach to happiness?
Dun dun dun. Happiness is a complicated one. I always think of happiness as very situational. Same with being sad. It's always situational. If you're happy all the time, there's something wrong with you, as we always joke about.
Yes.
Like, it swings and life is swings and roundabouts. You can't appreciate one without the other, and vice versa. It's all yin and yang. So if you're sad, it just means you're going to be happy later on, unless like you're dead. And then you're probably just always, nonchalant about it. But yeah, happiness it's a fun topic to think about sometimes. It's also maddening because everyone bigs it up as, their goal in life is to be happy. I was like, if you're always happy, then you're gonna get pretty sick of being always happy all the time. You're gonna get sent to a funny farm.
Well, it's odd because you mentioned that last night when we were talking about doing this episode, and this idea that if your only goal is to be happy, then you're life and that your life goal is kind of to be imbalanced. And I felt kind of called out because from a child, I always thought that I was being smart when people would say, when you grow up, what do you want to be? And I'd be like, I don't want to be a doctor. I don't want to be this. I want to be happy. And I thought I was cheating the system, but now
you're one of those kids, the hopelessly optimistic.
I'm still hopelessly optimistic.
You are. You really are.
Still very precocious. Yeah.
You've got to back yourself, though.
Yes. Yeah. And that is something that you say often. Do you think that is something that you find is a key to your happiness? Because you're quite a content person.
So a little context on what back yourself refers to. This stems from a conversation with my cousin Jamie, who's about my age, but we've been best friends since before we could walk. And I asked him one day, Jamie, how are you always so confident and chill and easy when it comes to talking to people or talking about things with people? And he just turns around and says, yeah, you got to back yourself. And I asked him, like, what do you meant by that? And it's like having someone in your corner all the time, but it's you, and it's you pushing you in the back to go and talk to that person or go ask someone for something that could be, like if you want a promotion, back yourself, ask your fucking boss about it.
Yeah.
It's just that kind of concept and mindset about, like, if you think you deserve it, then it means you're thinking about it. And it means if you're thinking about it, it means you think you deserve it in some way. So back yourself. If you think you deserve it, go for it. If not, what's going to happen? The person would say, no, sorry. No skin off your ass, end of the day.
Yeah, I think Joe and I mentioned this last week, I think, this idea of backing yourself and how at the end of the day, you are the only person you can guarantee will be in your corner.
Exactly.
At any point. And
if you're not in your own corner, how do you expect anyone else to be in your corner? But I don't say that's more of, I don't really say it's a happiness thing. That's more of like a self-confidence thing. But one can complement the other quite well.
I think it folds into it, because if going into that idea of if you're going to ask for something and somebody says no and you get faced with rejection, that we can often live with a lot of fear and anxiety around rejection.
Fear of failure. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's innate in anyone. It's just a case of, at some point you got to get over it. It could be anything as small. Granted, for some people in certain situations, it will take longer to get over that fear than others. But at the end of the day, if you don't climb that mountain, then you're never going to get the walk down it. You're never. You're never going to know.
I like that metaphor. That you get to climb a mountain, and then you also get to walk down, because I think we forget that walking down the mountain after achieving something is...
It's a better feeling than when you get to the top of it, right? I would imagine.
Yeah.
And it's like Everest, and then you're just like, Jesus Christ, I'm cold and I want something to eat and I just want to go home.
I want to get to the bottom.
But hey, look at that view.
Yeah.
Desolate, snowy plains and mountain range.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that before.
Aaron, you're commenting in the comment section on YouTube that you don't always back yourself. And I think that's quite hard, because I know I don't. And you're forever turning around to me and saying, just back yourself. Just go do it. Just have that confidence and run screaming into the abyss and recognize that you'll catch yourself.
So, I'm seeing this comment about lack of confidence. I'm like, man, I'm not a trained psychiatrist. I don't know what exact words to give you, but other than just back yourself. But it's just get out of your own way. If you want something, go for it. Get out of your own way and let the primal brain just sort of take over for a second and be the voice that you want to say.
It's interesting that you say the primal brain.
Well, I mean, like, it's the part of the what's it, Freud, the super ego. Let the super ego chat for a bit.
Yeah, the thing is super ego, which I think it was the id that was like full of impulse.
Yeah, it is like all desire, but then I think super ego is like what.
That's the angel in you.
It's like, I thought it's like like the perfect being of yourself.
Yeah, which I have to try and rebel against all of the time.
But if you think about it, it's kind of accurate.
Yeah. So Aaron, you say my partner Gemma is always telling me to believe in myself. and she'll always big up your work. I think that's a very good point as well, because there's also an element of happiness that is also honesty. And if we touch on the fact that we right now have this unique perspective into each other because we're partners, and I think that plays into people's happiness. It folds into we don't want our happiness to be dependent on other people, but the people in your life fold into it. They always they add to your happiness. And I think that, I mean, you're a big source of strength for me, which thank you. But it's also this idea of honesty, and I know I get a lot of happiness from knowing that you will be absolutely honest with me at all times.
Yeah, it's like shit. I'm not going to pander to someone and say this is the best thing ever when it's shit.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where it's like,
I wouldn't be here if I didn't believe that.
Thank you for the backhanded compliment at the Happiness Anonymous Share Show. Do you think how do you think that honesty also plays into happiness, but honesty with yourself as well? And do you think that mars off against back yourself? Because what if you're honest with yourself, you shouldn't be backing yourself? Or am I just making it convoluted and confusing and trying to break you?
You're definitely reading too much into a simple phrase of back yourself. But my truth is saying I don't deserve that promotion. That's it's part of the if the brain is always lying to itself. Doesn't matter who you are, it's always lying to yourself in some way, whether it's small or major. Like you have a bad conversation with someone, in your mind, it's like, oh, that was a good conversation, really productive. But on the other end, someone's thinking, God, that fucking guy, what a nightmare. Exactly. What you think is a productive conversation with someone could end up being detrimental. But then
and the other way around.
And vice versa. Like the number of times when you and me have been speaking, I've just been like, did I say something to offend you? But you just turn around and like, no, I'm just tired, man. I'm like, okay, oh, thank fuck. Oh. It's it's a perceptual thing. If you're someone who hasn't got a lot of self-confidence and has like a lot of self-doubts about one's sense of self, which is a big part in being happy, in my opinion. If you've got a lot of self-doubts, then those are going to be the voices talking in your ear saying, this is the truth, but the truth in that regards is
it's a lie.
Yeah.
It's wrong.
Or it's what is the it's an objective truth rather than actual truth, than actual fact.
Yeah. And I mean, that's one of the things that I absolutely admire about you, is that you seemingly have this jaunty, charismatic confidence about you. You can step into a room and just go, all right, this is the situation I find myself in.
It's either that or I'm going to sit on my ass like a lemon for an evening with people I don't know. Like I might as well say hello to people and start talking. Like the other day when we went to your friend's birthday party, I walked in and I was just like, right, I don't know anyone here. I've met that guy once for like 20 minutes. Let's just sit down to these two drag queens and start having a chat.
Yeah. And it's amazing because it's something to admire, and I think you just have an actual joy about you, and you make people smile in that way. And I think that
it's one of those things, like if you're gonna walk around life like as if you're walking on eggshells, you're just not gonna have a nice time. Like you might as well talk to strangers at a party. You might as well try that thing that you've never done before. You might as well go for that drive when you probably shouldn't be.
That's not when you're drunk,
not when you're drunk. I do not encourage drunk driving.
No.
You know what I mean. Like, oh, I should go skydiving because I've never done it before, and it's a new experience. That's one of the things I wanted to bring up actually about your idea of happiness. In my mind, variety is the spice of life. A new experience defines your life.
I agree, and I think that especially, and I can very much back myself in saying this, is live streaming is something I've never done until this show.
This is the first time I've sat down and spoken on camera or done live streaming.
Yeah, and ever. It's also that was me a week ago. And yes, I spend a lot of time in front of a camera, and I kind of can just decide, oh, I'm gonna jump at this. But it's so exciting to try new things, and it's that idea of there is a psychological thing where if every time you create a new memory, it extends time for you. That's why as a kid it felt like time was going forever, is because you're continuously learning new things.
Years feel like years, whereas now I still remember New Year's, like our New Year's up in Pickering in that
little
rented
cottage,
house.
yeah.
Like it was bloody yesterday. It doesn't feel like it's already August.
Yeah, and
It's
I
August,
think
right?
that
Yeah, it's August.
COVID has definitely accentuated that for a lot of people. I think a lot of people feel like a little bit hopeless and a little bit lost because of this idea that we haven't felt like life has been lived. And to be honest, for a lot of us, it hasn't, not in the way that we think it has, but that doesn't mean that it will always be that way.
I both agree and disagree with that statement. I understand what you mean, but I don't fully agree that it's because of COVID that people haven't lived their lives. I think people have used it a lot as an excuse not to do things.
That's a good point.
Because even whilst during lockdown, you could still do things. You still had the space inside your own confines. You had the internet. You had access to the world's knowledge, media, and anything at your fingertips. And like, you know, with Amazon Prime, you can get it the next day, sometimes even later that afternoon.
Yeah.
So I understand if you're on your ones for a year in a tiny little flat in the middle of bumfuck nowhere, then I can imagine it's going to get very miserable very soon. We were lucky and fortunate enough that we had each other in a shared house with other people, so we didn't drive each other nuts. But I mean, you know, you saw me. You just from my own experience in lockdown. Like I got into woodwork. I collected power tools for the majority of the year to make random shit. Model making. I worked on my personal projects and reconnected with friends over Discord, and we had like gaming sessions and stuff. I learned to cook properly over lockdown,
and I am benefiting from that every single day.
Yeah, I make banging Korean fried chicken.
But
like it's if you're looking back at lockdown and you're like, oh, yeah, such a wasted year out of my life. It's like, that's your own bloody fault. You had all the opportunity to do something. If you wanted to learn a new skill, you could have done it over lockdown. You had nothing but time on your hand.
Right.
What's your excuse?
And I think even if you're kind of sitting there feeling like that, an amazing experience I had recently, because I've just started a new job, and there was a sort of summary of and trying to close this idea of we've spent 18 months not doing what we normally do. And it was an exercise that I was taken through where it was one of those, you take a timeline and plot out new things that you did, or times of discovering new things, times of lull, times that you wished that had never happened, and you kind of plot these very broad things. And then you mainly look back and say, okay, our assumption of the last year is that we've not done anything as a planet. But if you actually look back and say, okay, maybe not August to August, because I don't know what was happening last August, but if you look back to March 2019, was it? When it started, whenever COVID started.
Yeah, because it was like a month after I started my new job.
Yeah. 2020. I can't remember what year it is. But if you look back at March 2020 and think about who you were as a person and where you were in life, and then compare that to who and what you're doing now. So many people have changed careers. So many people have new hobbies. So many people.
You certainly have.
I have so many hobbies.
And a new career, and a new flat, and
I've just got
kitchenware.
I've just got to get a new boyfriend, and I've gotten all of it.
You'll hit the holy trifecta, and a new car, and then you'll have the holy trinity of all new things.
Yeah.
Home, boyfriend, car.
There you go.
Well, I guess and job. Quadruped? No, not a quadruped.
Well, we'll go for triple because I don't intend on getting rid of you quite yet.
Thank you. Likewise.
Hey. So would you say over the last year during lockdown, would you say that these new hobbies, have they contributed to your happiness over the last year? And do you think that they'll continue? Do Do you think there's a legacy that's involved in the things that you've picked up? Or do we have a shed full of tools for no reason?
Take that as a personal attack. Certain hobbies, I will definitely say I would like to continue, like woodworking, because I enjoyed that. I like working with my hands. Model making, probably more of a fad. Probably comes on, comes off pretty quick. I mean, I've still got like 2 that your brother gave me that I haven't put together yet. Sorry, Connor. But like I was saying before, variety is the spice of life. You know, it's the trying new things. Without trying these things, I didn't know I'd like it. I didn't know I'd find a new hobby. I didn't know if I didn't like it.
Mm.
So I'm glad that I tried these things because it meant I've picked up new hobbies. I've dropped old hobbies. Also gotten out of a lot of bad habits as well.
Mm-hmm. Like what?
Like picking my nose in public. I'm joking. I still do that. No. no.
More so now.
Yeah, more so now. No, just small things like not tidying up after myself or wearing the same pair of pants for 3 days in a row.
We've all been there.
We've all had a rough laundry day. Just small things that I feel like I've matured and bettered over the last year and a half. Then again, it's going from that age of 25 to 26. It's kind of the age where 24 is kind of like your build-up phase for your second act.
It's a nothing age.
Yeah. It's that intermediate age where you can just train yourself up in something you want to do for your career, realistically.
But you have, and I can really testify as somebody who, yes, I'm a little bit biased, but I always believe in honesty. Is that you've matured and you've followed your fun and taken on new things and tried new things, and now look at you. Yeah. You've even got a new haircut.
I hate it so much. Context, I used to have quite a lot longer hair. It was long where I could put it back and then it'd be down to here. And then I went to the barber. I asked the guy, I don't know what haircut I want. I just don't want it this long.
Life lesson, never do that.
Yeah, I said to the guy, just give me a style that you think might suit me. And then he just cut my hair to the exact same hairstyle, but shorter. And then it was too short. And now I hate my hair.
I think everybody's walked away with the COVID haircut.
Yeah. I wish I never got a haircut during the COVID. My hair would be your length by now.
Your hair would be sufficiently longer than my
Probably
length right now.
Probably would be.
So are there any final thoughts on happiness?
Are we already running out of time?
No. I'm just remove the word final then. Are there any other thoughts on happiness? Or what's it like to live with somebody who's on this
nightmare?
On this mission?
Here's some words of wisdom straight from Gandhi's mouth. Happiness is like a fart. If you have to force it, it's gonna be shit. But that can be applied to anything. If you force it, it won't be fun. It has to come naturally, or at least through a good amount of planning where it seems like it's natural.
I told Ryan about Joe saying that last week, and yes. you've not let go of it.
I haven't.
Just developed it.
I haven't. I've said it to 5 people today. I've been rehearsing my delivery on that.
Yeah.
But no. Just Ari looping back to the COVID lockdown. I can see Aaron's getting real chatty on here, which is nice. He's saying you use it as a time to reflect and recenter yourself and write a lot, which is really good. It's really nice to see. Not a lot of people are willing to take that hard introspective look on themselves during time off. Most people are exactly a state of being, but it's not permanent. You got to remember that. If it comes, it will go, just like anything in life. And it's about how you deal with yourself when it's low, when it's gone. Happiness.
Not for anybody who can't see
not
that
farting. It's about having a good hard look at yourself and saying, what do you really want out of life? What do you think will make you happy? And then if that thing doesn't make you happy, it's not a big deal. Find something else that will make you happy. That's why I like variety in my life. Because it means I can just jump from thing to thing and see what,
Yeah.
See what I'm enjoying at that time.
Yeah, and I think you have an amazing ability to, without trying, be very, very present and be very, very in the moment in just going, well, this is what I have now and this is what I'm enjoying now. And if I have it tomorrow and enjoy it tomorrow, that's tomorrow's me's problem.
Exactly.
And it's definitely something that I think there are ways to stop the extreme peaks.
There's a lot of stuff you can do to just give yourself that little extra, like that little kickstart for the brain, because happiness, it's just dopamine in the brain. It's a chemical reaction going on in the brain, stimulating neurons and making you feel good about yourself. Here's an interesting tip: the gut creates more dopamine than your brain does. So a good balanced diet produces more dopamine in your bloodstream, in your body, than anything else. So have a good varied diet and it will help you be a lot happier in life.
I'm going to remind you of that next time you're like, let's have McDonald's for dinner.
Speaking of which, I'm starving. Should we get Mackey's after this?
Cardboard, flavored cardboard and salt.
My last thing I would say is, like I was just mentioning about doing something to give you that kickstart, is this one's ripped straight from Parks and Rec, but it is absolutely something I have adopted and I live by, is treat yourself. Yeah. Treat yourself every day. Something small, that little bit of chocolate, a nice bath. I don't know, that little extra something at lunch, or whatever tickles your pickle. And then just treat yourself every day. It's a little thing to keep you happy. Opens the floodgates for everything else.
And I think that's actually a really good thing to talk about, is this idea of treating yourself, because I'm not very good at doing that.
No, you're awful at it. I'm usually the one having to treat you.
Yay, thank you. Yeah, I think because there's also, when you treat yourself, for a lot of people, or maybe just some, there's this association that if you treat yourself, there's a guilt and a selfishness that comes with it. And I know I often fall into that, and I often kind of, I'm somebody who puts everybody else in front of me and prioritizes everybody else. And I will
which don't get me wrong, is a really selfless and big heart thing to do. But at the same time, like, I see what it does to you at the end of the day. You get it shatters you, and you're exhausted and you're so tired. You end up getting so fussed and fed up with everything that you've got no time for yourself or energy for yourself. Yeah, there was an awesome metaphor that I've used to explain it to you, that somebody else gave it to me. I think I've got a feeling it was a friend called Louise. So hi, Louise. And it was this idea that you as a person, you're a vessel. You have you're a jug. You're a jug, and you are full of water. And if you keep pouring your water into other people and giving yourself away, and you never take time to top it up yourself up again, you're eventually going to have no more water in that jug, and you are going to be spent. And I like the spoons metaphor better. Yeah, I mean, spoons. I stick with this jug thing because I know what the feeling of spent is very, very well. And nicking spoons back sounds more fun, but sounds like more effort rather than just going and filling a jug back up. Well, that's what I mean about treat yourself. Is if you're feeling low, you give yourself that little extra energy, that little top up of water, that one extra spoon you found behind the couch. Where are you keeping your spoons? Is that where all the spoons are going? Behind the couch, clearly. Aha! We're learning things about this household. Yeah, it's just, I mean, obviously, my approach to happiness is completely my own sort of thing. Like, I'm borrowing snippets from everything else here and there. Like, I haven't even mentioned about like the stuff from Jordan Peterson that I like to remember. Yeah, everyone gives him a bad shtick. But have you even read 12 Rules for Life? Exactly. But yeah, there's a, I mean, obviously, say what you will about him and his writing, but there's a few it's just common sense stuff for how to live a better life. It's a little bit this, a little bit that. I have to say, as much as, and I mean, I haven't read Jordan Peterson. I've what little of his I've consumed, I've realized, there's a reason people go hoo ha at you. Yeah, it's not for everyone. But it's even, you brought it up, syndrome.
from
From The Incredibles.
From The Incredibles is that, what does he say?
It's the line is, if everyone is super, then no one is. Which
Yeah.
is, if everyone is happy, is everyone really happy?
Yeah, and we often talk about lines and things that we've heard, and I think even if it comes from a villain's mouth, there is wisdom in a lot of what gets said, and I think the source of what I like. In this search of happiness, I've gotten some amazing life lessons that I've put to test in my life and I live by, and they are from some questionable sources. And I think that's also something is if you are searching for happiness, and this is something I've fallen foul of a lot, is if you're searching for anything, whether it's happiness or whatever, you can get into a point where you ask so many people and you read so many books and you take on so much advice.
It all just becomes a big pot mess, doesn't it?
It does. It's like a dirty pint.
Yeah, it's exactly what you're doing. You've got to. I've found in my experience, like obviously, most people growing up as a teenager and adolescence, everyone gets a bit of depression here and there. I've been miserable back in my formative years, and now I'm happy to say I'm quite happy because of that dirty pint. I've managed to pull out a few good shots of vodka from it, or whatever the metaphor you wish to choose.
I don't know how
I've
you
crafted my
own a pint.
I've crafted my own pint from it, or I'm trying to, anyways, and I'm topping it up here and there with very select bits that I like to live by. Which, by the way, the Jordan Peterson bit I was going to say was, it's don't do things in life that make you weak. Not obviously, sometimes you have to for whatever situations, but it's more refers to the things that are actually going to make you miserable in the long run. If you're doing a shit job that you hate daily, don't fucking do that job. Get a new job. Obviously, I'm quite privileged to say that because as I've recently found, I'm quite employable, which fucking fooled me after 4 years looking for a job. But find a new job. That will give you that little bit of motivation to get the hell out of the miserable situation that you're at. If you're in a relationship with someone that you think, oh yeah, I like this person, but like
they're bad for me.
That's going to make you miserable in the long run. Don't do it. You're marrying crazy. Don't, it's simple things. Like if the warning signs are there, jump ship early, and it makes shit a lot easier for yourself and your life in the long run.
I think two things on that is also try and practice self-awareness for when it comes to because this idea of jumping ship, yes, if you see so many warning signs that something's bad for you, leave it, go, run away, and jump ship. But also don't be so scared of failure, and don't be so scared of being hurt or being unhappy that you jump ship despite something that is good, because not everything that's good for you is easy as well.
True.
And not everything that's happy is easy.
No, happiness is hard work. It takes a lot of self-care.
I think it's work.
It's work.
It's work. You've got to work at it.
It is work.
Exactly. And I think also just in this idea of where you can change your job, it reminded me of at the beginning of the year, I was in a position that was completely bad for my mental health. It was stressful. I was overworked, and it was an environment that wasn't nourishing me. And when you're spending 5 days out of 7 for the majority of your working hours and your awake hours in a situation that isn't making you feel fulfilled even, then that can really have a detrimental effect on your mental health. And it did. And that plus COVID meant that I sought out therapy. When you start doing therapy, they do an initial kind of questionnaire with you to try and figure out the root cause of it. And I turned around and I went, well, my job's stressful, and that's what's causing a lot of anxiety, and COVID, and that's causing a lot of anxiety. So those are the two things I'd like to deal with. And when they said, cool, fantastic, we'll be with you in a couple of weeks.
She's missing out the part where she like bared her soul to the receptionist. She even cried a little bit.
Yeah, so
It's fucking hilarious.
forewarning, when they do this questionnaire, it's not often a therapist, it is just the receptionist. And sometimes they aren't clear about that. And they just say, we're booking you in for your first session. And if you're like me, you bare your soul for over an hour, you cry, you have a few revelations, and then they say, thank you, I'll pass these notes to the therapist. And then they turn around and ask you, do you think you'll be willing to be open and up for talking to somebody honestly? And I'm like, I think I will. I don't. You?
What gave it away?
What gave it away? But essentially, in the time that they took for them to take that assessment and then get back to me with an actual therapist to book a slot and book a session, my first session is the therapist called me and said, okay, well, I can see by your notes it's this and this, so we can go through these pathways. And I went, I'd still love to do therapy because I think those underlying issues are still there, but I've changed my job and I've taken some measures with COVID, and COVID's kind of not over, but it's more manageable. And I impressed the therapist. The therapist kind of looked quite shocked at me. And it was one of those things where one of the things that I live by is that the only thing in life that you can control is yourself and how you react to things. And as hopeless as it might feel if you're trapped in a job, especially if you have rent and bills and all of those things, it can feel hopeless. But Ryan can attest, at the beginning of the year, I had so many plans for projects and gigs and things. The Happiness Anonymous show was meant to be 5 years down the line already, all in 1 year. I had so many things I wanted to do. And when I identified that a root cause of unhappiness in me was some of these things, like the job I was in and things like that, I dropped everything. And I just went, right, my focus is me. The thing that I can control is getting a new job. And I went out and I got a new job, and I took control of the situation, and at least took control of the part of the situation I could control.
Yeah, like finding meaningful work is one of the biggest things you can do in your life. If it's something that you enjoy doing on your day to day, then you haven't worked a day in your life. It's what was it? Karl Marx? Karl Marx? I feel like it's Karl Marx.
I feel like
it's definitely not Karl Marx, but fulfilling work, it helps a lot. I really enjoy my new the job that I got right before lockdown, and I am still there, and I'm doing quite well.
And I remember turning to you and saying exactly that, is that if you're miserable with your everyday situation, change it.
Software developer. Never would have thought I'd be any good at it or enjoy it. Fucking love it.
You followed your fun and you took those risks, and I think that's, for me, that's very much a big part of happiness, is going, all right, I'm going to take a risk. I've never done that before. Yeah, I'm going to jump off that cliff and believe and back myself in knowing that I can land on my own 2 feet, and I'll be fine. And if I'm not, I'll change it, because it's all entirely in my control. Not everything is, but how I react to a situation.
If you're too afraid to make mistakes, you're never going to do anything with your life.
Yes.
Exactly. And a life without regrets is a life not lived.
Well lived.
Not lived.
You've put in too many.
Without regrets is a life not lived.
I
have no like memories of trying stuff.
Okay, because I as a kid had another precocious moment where I was just like, I'll never regret anything. I'll just learn lessons.
One of those kids.
I was one of those kids. I have a show called the Happiness Anonymous Share Show with the mission of being happy and spreading joy. Do you not think I was one of those kids?
You're one of those kids that like did tea parties and gave them more like super important jobs. Like all of the dolls were like, this is a king, a princess, a general, a scientist, and then you're the waiter serving tea.
Mom, Dad, if you're watching this, I don't remember doing that, but I am also aware that I could be blocking those memories and judgments of my own self. And also, Aaron, yes, you're talking about that you took this plunge with your book, and you and I have been talking a lot about your book.
Awesome.
And also upcoming books as well. Like you before you published the first one formally, Aaron was somebody who turned around and went, I've got this idea for like these 6 other books, and these are the titles, and these are the covers.
Fucking write them.
And
just do it.
And
don't let your dreams be dreams.
But
just do it.
But Aaron, you are actually somebody who's really, really inspiring in just this idea that you go, I'm going to do this and I'm going to go full ham at it, and I'm not going to let anybody stop. I'm not going to wait for somebody to do my cover art. I'm not going to wait for anything. I'm just going to create and do the thing that I'm doing it. Yes, and you're working on doing it.
Fucking champion.
Yeah. So any other final thoughts or any questions that you want to ask me on the internet live with my finger and not hovering over the end broadcast button? Don't.
Round of applause for Aaron, following his dream, smashing it. Fucking hey, lad.
And also to anybody who's not watching live and anybody who's watching live but doing it silently, if you're doing it and you're following your dream and you're just going out there and doing it.
Right.
Yeah.
Have I sounded like I'm chatting out my ass for the last half an hour?
A little bit, but not more than you could pull off. So you're fine.
I backed myself. I winged it. I think I did all right.
You did all right. You took a risk. You did something for the first time, and I hope that you've enjoyed it. So
it's been fun. I feel so self-important. I feel like I should start my own podcast and
do it. Everybody's got a podcast. Don't do that bit. No, don't do that.
Everyone's getting podcasts these days.
Yeah. But thank you so much for coming on and being my guest.
My pleasure.
Yeah, I felt and thank you for giving me the opportunity to feel vulnerable on the internet. Because you're somebody who knows me.
Coming soon.
You're somebody who knows me so well that this conversation could have gone anyway, and I'd be lying if I ignored or didn't accept that there was a little voice going, oh no, is he gonna show me up? Is he? Oh no, I know. What if?
Oh please. Actually, I have one last piece. It's a quick one, I promise.
All
right. I grew up in a Jewish household. I grew up with some Jewish friends, mostly not Jewish people. I got a lot of shit for being Jewish when I was a kid. But one thing I learned very quickly is that people will not take the piss of you for being something if you do it first. So I'm always
Jewish first.
No, if I always make the Jew when it's a group of people if someone tries to make a Jew joke to be funny, I'm like, oh yeah, have you heard this one? And then list off the 3 worst Jew jokes I could think of on the spot. After that, no one makes Jew jokes.
It's true. Nobody calls me Ginger when I turn around and make an angry ginger joke.
Exactly. How often do you get people giving you shit for being a ginger anymore? Other than by me.
Not after I point out that be careful, I have no soul.
Exactly. She can murder you and have no conscience about it because she has no soul.
And I do so much hard work with the Happiness Anonymous show.
She's a very good person. She can get away with at least 1 murder.
Yeah.
A day. A week. Maybe a week.
Maybe a week.
Yeah. A month is pushing it. Then you're owed 1.
Yeah. Then on the doors to heaven, I'm just handed a few souls.
Yeah, it's like, you know what? You've earned these. You're ginger. You've earned these.
Well, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
For joining.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. And on the idea of being kind and being happy, yes, Aaron, thank you so much. I do have a soul. I do try. It is a stolen soul, but it is still mine.
It's not hers.
But yes, thank you everybody for listening. And a little bit of a reminder very, very quickly that this week we are raising funds for Emergency, who's working with Legacy of War, all inspired by Giles Dooley, the photographer. And we're raising funds to help an organization in Afghanistan that is helping to treat medically and treat mentally children affected by the conflict in Afghanistan.
Shit, it's fucked over there right now.
Every single day, more developments are happening. And again, I can only read and regurgitate the news that I've read. But Giles is somebody who has been in Afghanistan for quite a while. And set up and helped set up the emergency NGO hospital and center over in Kabul. So please, if you have the means, please, there is a link in the description of wherever you are watching this. Click that link, donate. It is also through Random Acts, which is an angel charity that that I work with quite closely and do a lot of events for, and they are working with Giles, and all of the funds go to help kids who have been living through a war-torn country for 20 years. And yeah, more information there on that. Tomorrow I am back with a fantastic silent disco, so get your dancing boots on. It is a share inspired by and also a share from a good friend of mine who I've known since I was 6.
Can I drop a song in there?
Yes, you can.
Not mine, just like something from Spotify.
Yeah?
Good.
Okay. We'll open with that, and then we'll jump over to Shannon's wonderful playlist of serotonin and dopamine. But thank you everybody for listening and for joining in and watching. I hope you've enjoyed this as much as I have.
Thank you for putting up with me talking out of my ass for 45 minutes.
It's always fun.
It's always fun.
Yeah.
Chat shit. That's part of life.
Yeah.
Chat shit.
But
Boom dick.
Oh no! I'm so glad that it's at this point.
Hi, Mum.
So glad it's at this point that Ryan's realised he sat on the chair that the microphone is attached to. Thank you, Aaron, for being so active in the chat box as well.
Star, man, you're a star.
Number one fan. But thank you everybody for watching now, presently, but also in the future. Hello from the past, and I will see you tomorrow. Maybe even Ryan will, with your out of time dancing.
Don't get your hopes up.
Thank you, everybody. Have an amazing night.
Bye, guys.